Hi, welcome to Kosovo Dispatch. I'm your host, Visar Xhambazi, and today we'll be discussing the achievements and challenges in the Kosovo-Serbia dialogue. In an effort to expedite the normalization process between Kosovo and Serbia, the European Union appointed Miroslav Lajcak as a special envoy in April 2020. 3 years later, Lajcak managed to secure a deal between Kosovo and Serbia to normalize their relations. However, the implementation process has faced significant setbacks. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić has breached the agreement on several occasions, while Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti has not proceeded with the establishment of the Association of Serb Majority Municipalities. With neither side fully committed to the dialogue process, important questions arise about its future. To explore this matter further, I'm joined today by the diplomat who leads the negotiation process in Brussels, the EU's Special Representative for the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue, Mr. Miroslav Lajcak. Mr. Lajcak, thank you so much for joining the Kosovo Dispatch.
Thank you very much for having me.
There have been many developments surrounding the dialogue over the last 4 years. Given your direct involvement in this process, how would you assess the current state of the Kosovo-Serbia dialogue?
Well, I would say that currently the dialogue is at the crossroads. On one hand, we have the positive development, the path to normalization of the relations and European integration. And here, of course, the milestone has been the agreement on the path to normalization, which was achieved last year in Brussels and in Ohrid, which gives us a clear framework for the way forward and also paves the way for then negotiating the final legally binding agreement between Kosovo and Serbia. But of course, to get there, both parties need to fully implement what was agreed in Ohrid, and unfortunately, this is not happening for the time being. On the other hand, we have a parallel reality, which is tensions, violent escalations, and conflict. We have seen crisis and violence on the ground, and this is forcing for the dialogue and for me and my team, instead of focusing on the way forward and normalization of relations, to resort to crisis management and de-escalation. And instead of having a mechanism which is here to promote peace, cooperation, development, and European integration, we'll have to deal with the crisis management. And one thing is clear, there cannot be a normalization of relations if there is a conflict on the ground. And this is, of course, in the hands of the parties. This is not something the facilitator or any external actor can influence. So it's for the parties to choose normalization, to choose the dialogue, to choose the implementation of the agreement. Agreement is there, and it's I am quite convinced that it's the best deal Kosovo and Serbia can get, and this is the ticket to the future. So what is really most important is to choose the progress on the path to normalization.
Yeah, on the point of crisis management mode, how would you describe the approach of leaders of both countries in the dialogue by Albin Kurti and Aleksandar Vučić?
Well, Albin Kurti and Aleksandar Vučić are legitimate leaders. Moreover, they both have a strong mandate from their voters. They represent the positions and interests of their people. That's natural. What is challenging for us as facilitators is that they have diametrically opposite approach to the dialogue, and also their personality and the approach to this process did not really provide much space to move forward. And here I want to stress one point, namely, if we want this process to succeed, if we want to have a dialogue on normalization, it has to be based on a compromise. If any party, I've said it before and I will repeat it now, if anyone believes that it can be 100% victory for one party and a defeat for the other party, we will not get anywhere. Because both parties have to present this agreement to their public, to their parliaments. That means it really has to be a document which both Kosovo and Serbia can sell back at home. And this understanding is unfortunately missing in our discussions, and therefore we have not progressed as far and as fast as I would have wished. And I can only repeat that it cannot be the European Union or any actor of the international community who wants the normalization between Kosovo and Serbia more than Kosovo and Serbia themselves.
Yes, and despite the difficulties under your facilitation in March 2023, you managed to secure a deal, the second agreement in Ohrid aimed at normalizing relations between Kosovo and Serbia. In your opinion, why didn't the Ohrid agreement yield results?
Yeah, I can tell you that last year in Ohrid, at the end of the meeting, we all thought we have it. We did it, including the parties. The mood in the room was that we have achieved something very big and very important. Because with this agreement, for the very first time, we finally have a very clear framework for the way forward on normalization of relations, or to put it simply, we no longer need to ask what or if. Mm-hmm. The question is only when. And we never had this before. But what is missing is the implementation. It's the courage to make the first step. Although we as facilitators are making it clear that the implementation will be transparent, measurable, and based on the principle you need to do something in order to get something. So it cannot end up in a process where one party has done its part and has not get what the party was promised to get. But still, I also have to say here that as I observed, neither of the two leaders was greeted coming back from Ohrid like in a positive way. No one said this was good for us, this was good for Kosovo, this was good for Serbia, this is an important step towards normalization. So it means opposition, media, civil society, I have not noticed a voice in support of. It was difficult for them to agree to what they have agreed, and they were met with criticism. That's why I want to stress that normalization is not for current political leaders. I mean, they have the mandate, obviously, but it should be a societal issue. And we need to generate the feeling in the society that will be communicated to the leaders that we need normalization. And the fact is that the European Union was crystal clear multiple times that this is a key condition for Kosovo and Serbia to make progress on the European path. And I also want to say that currently we have a momentum in the process of European integration, and everybody has seen it now. European Union is getting ready to embrace new members. So having the normalization process stalled would also mean that you have the integration process stalled. And this is not what your people want. So this momentum in the process of enlargement could, and I would say should, also help to unlock the dialogue and the implementation of the agreement from Ohrid.
Yeah, and on the topic of the normalization of relations, each country has to do its homework. And over the past few years, a major point of contention has been the association of Serb majority municipalities, yes, which the Kosovo government still refuses to implement. However, there's been numerous draft proposals circulating, and among them, the European Union proposed a draft on the association. And I'd like to ask you, how did the Kosovo government react to the European Union's draft statute proposal on the association?
Well, it has been agreed long before my time and long before both President Vučić and Prime Minister Kurti's term in office, that when it was agreed that the key element around which the normalization process will be built is the association of Serb majority municipalities. So this is the Brussels Agreement of 2013, which was ratified with constitutional majority in Kosovo Assembly. And it was also agreed 2013 and 15 how to get there. Namely, that there should be a statute which should be elaborated in the dialogue. And this statute, according to the conclusions of Kosovo Constitutional Court, should be endorsed by the government of Kosovo and submitted to the Constitutional Court for review to make sure that it's fully in line with Kosovo Constitution. So there were several papers produced by think tanks such as Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, for example, but there are only two officially presented proposals. The first one is the text proposed by the so-called management team. Mm-hmm. This was presented to the dialogue on the 2nd of May last year, but by the substance, by the content, this proposal was not acceptable to Kosovo, and in many aspects also not acceptable to the European Union as facilitator, because our principle is that whatever we agree on must meet European standards and best European practices. I invited parties to start drafting the statute, but instead we had a crisis on the ground, and it was very clear that after that, and I'm now referring to end of May developments, May 26th, May 20, installation of mayors, May 29th, the violence against KFOR soldiers. So it was very clear that the parties cannot draft this document. And therefore, after consultations with our member states, with the United States, it was decided that we will help to make this step for the parties, and we will draft the statute. It was a very elaborate, very time-consuming, and very labor-intense process, with the support of renowned international legal experts and experts in the field of minority protection, including the experts of the Council of Europe and legal experts from the United States, Germany, France, Italy. This document was drafted on the basic parameters, which were the respect for the existing dialogue agreements, because it really has to be built on what was agreed before, and the respect for the Kosovo legal framework, and also respect for red lines that both parties presented in our discussions in the dialogue about this. And of course, the bottom line was to reflect the best European practices. You may know that we have studied 16 existing models of self-governance and minority protection, which are existing in the European or Council of Europe area, real models. We have shared also this model with parties so that they understand what is the European models, what is the European practice. And finally, we presented this document. I presented it to both in Pristina and in Belgrade, 21st of October. And I was accompanied on this trip with the national security advisors of Germany, France, Italy, and the US Special Envoy. With their presence, they demonstrated their full support and the full weight of their countries behind this document. And we invited both Prime Minister Kurti and President Vučić to come to Brussels to meet with their leaders to discuss exactly this document. So the first reaction of Kosovo government was constructive. They sent their comments on the text. We received two sets of comments, one from the government, one from the president. We had a discussion about this, as I said, on 26th of October, where Prime Minister Kurti said that he is ready to accept this document as it is, provided it will be signed by Kosovo and Serbia together with the agreements from Ohrid. Since then, unfortunately, there was no further engagement on this document on the side of Kosovo authorities, and we have not progressed in the implementation of this agreement.
Yeah, so you would make the case that there needs to be more political will to proceed further in order to progress.
Look, again, I like discussion which is based on facts. So it's really good to speak about what is in the document, and you know, some important countries requested Kosovo government to submit this draft for the consideration to the Constitutional Court, which is of course the best way how to see to what extent this document meets the constitutional requirements. So this is of course I would say a logical proposal for the government. So it's there is no reason to be afraid of this document, because as I said, we would, and I personally would never propose anything that I would not propose for my own country, or that I know would not meet European standards and European values and European practices.
Yeah. Now I'd like to change gears and talk about the last 4 years of your mandate as a special representative. What do you consider to be your most significant accomplishment, and in contrast, your biggest shortcoming?
Well, the biggest achievement by far is the agreement on the path to normalization, because this really moves the process on a different level, and it cannot be undone because it's there, and it just has to be implemented, which I really hoped that after a year and plus and 3 months, we will be finalizing the implementation and not having this discussion about first steps. But the agreement is there, and this I will leave to my successor and the implementation. So I said we completed the phase of negotiations, but we have not really moved into the phase of implementation. But at the same time, we also have other very concrete positive achievements. I would mention the finalization of the implementation of the energy agreement, which after many years ended the unregulated and unbalanced energy situation in the north of Kosovo. And this started being implemented from the 1st of January this year. Mm-hmm. I would also mention the finalization of the implementation of the license plates provision as part of the freedom of movement agreement, which led to mutual recognition of license plates and also re-registration of vehicles in the north of Kosovo to RKS plates. We ended the sticker regime. So this is also very concrete and I think appreciated by the people. So, and I can mention some other concrete examples, but I would say that these are like visible enough, robust enough to be mentioned. The setback is, as I said, the unimplementation of the agreement, and this is really something that remains to be done. Since the process of the dialogue is very much linked to the European integration of Kosovo and Serbia, and since we do have a momentum, since we have the growth plan and the first tranche will be disbursed in coming weeks, and it's also linked for Kosovo and Serbia to the implementation of the dialogue. So all this should really help understand that this is for real and it's in the interest of Kosovo and Serbia that we move forward on the implementation. I would leave the part about shortcomings to other people. What I can say is that for the first time we had a dedicated team that has worked very hard and continues working on a daily basis, very hard. Unfortunately, we spend way more time in crisis management rather than on normalization. But I just don't want to think what would be the situation had this team not been present and vigilant. So all this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the topic of your successor, as you near the end of your mandate, what advice would you give to your potential successor?
Well, first of all, I may not be as near to the end of my mandate as initially thought. So what I can say is that my work continues. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm not yet in the mood of like giving advice to my successor. There will be a successor sooner or later, but the process has not started yet. And once the successor is chosen, then of course we will have a lot to share with. But right now, there is only one USR, and you are talking to him right now, and the team is here. And as I said, we are really fully focused on our work and preparing our next steps.
Mr. Lajcak, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you very much once again for your invitation.